Morning,
Good morning.
Doug. How are you today?
Okay. Happy
Nice,
President
nice to see you.
and you. Okay.
I'm here.
All right. We are on 12A. We got up to about, let's see, 8 lines down. Yesterday we began the second chapter of Chagigah, and it deals with very uncharacteristically, it deals with a lot of mystical things. Now, this is not to say that the Gemara does not often deal with mystical things. There's often stories about demons and about celestial beings and so on. However, they're usually addressed in what's called an Agadic fashion. The Gemara is made up of passages of Agada, which are like stories, basically, and Halacha, which is most of it, which is, the legal determination of the sources of things and the rules and everything. And what's unusual to me here is that we're addressing, and it's also somewhat frustrating, the Gemara is addressing these, a lot of these celestial, excuse me, excuse me, these celestial matters, but from a very kind of dry legalistic point of view, so like it seems to me much more effective when you address these things that are kind of metaphysical in a storytelling way rather than an analytic way, because there's no way to analyze them. They're not.
They're mystical.
Exactly. So anyway, the Mishnah that we're going to be discussing for a few days had basically made the statement that there are certain things that you can't teach in public. You can only teach to a very small group of people, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3, depending on what it is. But if you teach it in public, that what the emerging idea seems to be that, people will not necessarily either be on the have the ability to understand what you're talking about, and they could be misled by partial understanding, or they won't be paying proper attention. So if you teach yesterday we had the idea that if you're teaching one person, there's a direct engagement, right? And the student will pay attention. If you teach 2 people, so while you're addressing the one student, the other one will be listening attentively. But if there's 3 students, and this I'm sure will ring a bell with you from the education world, you're engaging one student, and the other 2 students are talking to each other about something else.
Yeah, man. And in the public schools, we have 34 in a classroom. So
Right.
Lots of luck, as they say.
Yeah. Right. So that's one of the elements of why you should not teach things in larger groups. Okay, or only in very direct way. If they these are things that are subject to misunderstanding and difficult to grasp in the first place. Okay, so we're 12a, 8 lines down. Rabbi Yehuda said, so now we're going to digress a little bit. There were 10 things that were created on the first day of creation. And these are them, Shamayim va'aretz, heaven and earth. And these are all referred to in the first chapter of Genesis. Tohu vavohu, this is like when the Torah says the earth was all chaos, right? So tohu vavohu is the word for chaos, actually 2 words. I don't know how directly translatable they are. Ruach umayim, the wind or the spirit, and the water. Now, water figures prominently in the account of creation. God gathers the waters, and then he establishes the waters below the sky and the waters above the sky. What are the waters above the sky? That seems to be the stuff of Kabbalistic and mystical interpretation. Midas Yom and Midas Laila, the length of the day and the night. Those are the 10 things that were created on the first day. And now here are all the proof texts. Shamayim va'aretz, heaven and earth. Tichsiv, Bereshis bara Elohim es hashamayim v'haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Tohu vavo, the chaos. Tichsiv, it's written, v'haaretz ha'isasau vavo. The land was all confused, was all mixed up. And then God started separating things. Or v'choshech, light and darkness. Tichsiv, choshech, v'choshech al pnei tehom. There was darkness before the creation of light. There was darkness over the deep, and or light. God said, "Let there be light." Ruach umayim. What about the spirit and the water? V'ruach Elohim rachefes al pnei mayim. The Spirit of God was hovering over the water. And then midas yom midas laila, the length of the day and of the night. Tichsiv vayir vayvoker yom echad. The summary of each day, and the first day in particular, is it was evening and it was morning the first day. Okay, so those were all the things that were created. So we typically think of what was created on the first day, light, but there are all these other things referred to that are kind of the background. But the Gemara takes a position that those things were all created on the first day. Tana, we have a brisa. Tohu, what is tohu? Of the phrase tohu vavo, which is the chaos. Tohu is kav yarok shemakivas kol olam kulo, a green line that goes around the whole world. Shemimenu yotza choshech. From that green line, what that means, I have no idea. From that green line, that's where darkness comes from. Shnamar yashes choshech sisro sevivosav. The verse says in Psalms, he made darkness to hide himself around it. So, where the idea of a green line comes from, I don't know. Bohu, and what is the other half of this tohu vavohu? What does the bohu mean? Elu avanim hamufulamos hamashukos batahom. These are damp stones sunk into the deep. Shemehen yotzin mayim. These are like the sources of water. So you're imagining some kind of an underground spring as the source of, like, where does the water come from, right? So, I mean, we do have underground springs. Where do the ocean waters come from? So in the rabbinic imagination, it emerges from within the earth. Shanamar, v'natal love kav tohu v'yavnei bohu, as the verse says, he'll draw a line of tohu and stones of bohu. So it doesn't really explain what they are, but there is some kind of a reference to stones here. So we're understanding that these are stones that are the sources of water. The Arbiyam Rishon Bryce says, wait a minute, you want to tell me that light was created on the first day of Aksiv? Where does light come from? Light comes from the sun and the moon and the stars, right? So, and those were only created on the fourth day. So how can it be that light was created on the first day? And so could Rabbi Eliezer. This accords with Rabbi Elazar. What was that light that God created on the first day? So he's going to say it's not the sunlight, because the sun was created on the fourth day. With that light, that was light that one could you could see from one end of the world to the other. In other words, it's not the light that we're talking about that comes from the sun. This is some other kind of substance.
Can't hear you, Dove.
Yeah, I'm getting light status again. I don't know, it's some kind of interference somewhere here. Does that die down at all?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If it gets really bad, I'll just phone in on the phone, but then we won't have the video. So you let me know if it gets bad enough. Whoops. Hi. Bad again, right? I can even hear it myself.
Yeah, just faded out.
If you want to wait 1 minute, I'm going to start up my computer and do it that way. It'll be better.
Okay.
Stand by.
Meanwhile, I'll contemplate the riddles of the light. How you doing, Stan?
Good. How are you today? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice to have a week off.
Yeah. I'm going to California, so I'll be going back to visit some friends. That's where I'm from.
Good for you. Yeah, I'm going to Florida next. On March 2, I'll be in Florida.
Okay.
For a week. Some people, a friend that I worked with is having an 80th birthday party, so that deserves a visit.
For sure. A lot of teachers down there.
Yeah. I want to be a snowbird. I'm thinking next year, or I'll spend the winter, 4 months, and eventually I want to buy a place. I'll come and go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't want to winter here anymore.
I completely understand. Yeah, completely. Yeah, I'm I'm thinking I might try to do another year, actually.
Well,
Yeah, it's going okay. It's going okay.
Okay, is this any better?
Sounds okay, yeah.
Okay.
sounds good.
All right. Okay, so the light from the first day of creation, that's not natural light. That is uh, some kind of light with which you could see from one end of the world to the other. Once God foresaw the generations of the flood and the dispersion, the Tower of Babel, we saw how evil they were. Man. Then he decided, you know what, they don't deserve this light. I'm going to hide it from them. Verse says in Job that he deprived the wicked of their light. So that's the light being referred to. Miganos. So who's it being hidden for? But tzaddikim losi lavo. This is for the tzaddikim in the world to come. As it says, "Vayarso Elohim or kitov." God saw the light. It was good. Back to Genesis. In tov tzaddik. What is good? Good is a tzaddik. Shenamar imru tzaddik kitov. Say of a tzaddik that he is good. So by referring to this different light, this original light as good, it's designating it for the tzaddikim. And once the light saw that God had hidden it for later for the righteous, the light was not or tzaddikim, light of tzaddikim. Okay, so Kitanai, and this idea about this light that was hidden is subject to a dispute of Tanaim. Brisa says the light that God created on the first day, Adam Sofam, Abibog, Sofam, Sofam, one could see from one end of the world to the other. Diva Rabbi Yaakov, that's Rabbi Yaakov's opinion. But the other sages say, no, it means the sunlight. So the light or the sun itself was created the light of the sun was created on the first day. But God is like a paper hanger. He hung the sun in the sky on the fourth day. So light was created and the sun was created because the sun to our eye is the source of light, but it wasn't put up in the sky until the fourth day. How to understand that, I don't really get either. But I don't really get this idea of some kind of light that is superior to our own. Maybe it's like X-ray vision.
Well, what is that the light was from Sopho, from one end to the other?
Yeah, so that's I mean, all I can understand about that is it is different in quality than in some qualitative way. It's different than light that we experience.
Well, the Webb telescope that they just put into orbit is going to measure the infrared light
from one end of the
universe. A long time ago, maybe from God's instant creation. We'll see.
That would make us the tzaddikim.
Yes, it would.
Maybe it means that the light was like the same. You know how the light is different in every place because the angle relationship to the sun is different, but maybe it means that it was the same in every place, like the relationship to the light.
The best explanation I've heard for that is about the creation is Rabbi Weiss was giving a lecture and I happened to be there, and he said God created the energy, that initial burst of energy that put everything into motion, and that for me is very believable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everything else after that is subject to physical processes.
Okay.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tovia Amar Rav Zutra said, "Sorry, Dvarim Nivra Olam. The world was created with 10 things, 10 aspects, 10 factors. The Chachma B'Tmina B'Das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. The Koach U'Begara U'Begvura, and with power, and Gara usually like a kind of a roar. right? A shout. And with Gevura is also might, but tzedek u'mishpat with righteousness and justice, chesed u'rachman with kindness and compassion. So what's the source for all these? What does it mean the world was created with wisdom and understanding? Hashem b'chachma yasad aretz kanen shemayim b'svara. God founded established the earth with wisdom and founded the heavens with understanding. B'das, what does knowledge mean? D'chsiv b'dato tehamos nivkar. With his knowledge, the depths were sundered. With strength and might, power and might. God who establishes the mountains with his power and is girded with strength. Bigara, with what's this shout? The pillars of the heavens were weakened, or they shuddered, and they're astounded by his shout. But tzedek u'mishpat, righteousness and justice, righteousness and justice are the foundations of your throne. Chesed v'rachamim, and kindness and mercy, God, remember your compassion and your mercy, because they are from forever. Referring to like they go all the way back to the beginning. Okay.
That sounds like the creation was a good thing here, because there's like a debate about but here it's all this good stuff, Rachamim, Chesed, Chochma,
Mm-hmm.
all the good stuff.
Yeah, it does sound kind of ideal.
No, that sounds ideal. This sounds good.
Yeah,
just part of the creation that.
Yeah, there's only positive things about it. Although in other places, as you say, we bemoan creation.
The world is wise, there's all this,
Mm-hmm. Yes, good observation. Rav also said, when God created the world, it was, and this is interesting, it was kind of unraveling. It was expanding, you might say, like two balls of thread, two balls of yarn. So this brings to mind, to me, immediately the debate among scientists, is the world expanding or contracting, the universe? Shagar, so I mean, certainly initially it was expanding, obviously. Until God shouted at it and brought it to a stop. Shenamar Amudei Shamayim Yirafafu v'Yismu Migara. So using this verse from before, the pillars of the heavens shuddered, and they're like afraid, or they're astounded by his shout. So in other words, God shouts at the yarn to stop unraveling, although there's no reference to it starting to be rolled up again, right? Which is what, I don't know what the current view is among scientists, but that was always
the current view is it's still expanding.
Still expanding, okay. But there was
whether it'll expand indefinitely or eventually
or if it will contract. Yeah,
that's one of the big questions.
Behind Dhamma Reish Lakish, and this is what Reish Lakish said, Ani El Shaddai. What is the meaning when God says, I am El Shaddai? Anihu Shamarti Olam Dai. I am the God who said to creation, die. Die means enough, right? So like stop expanding. And that is one of the names of God, El Shaddai, and that is how he's interpreted. I'm Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says, when God created the sea, it was continued to expand until God shouted at it to stop and dried it, established and dried it. He shouts at the sea and dries it up and makes all the rivers dry. Okay, so this kind of parallels the view of the heavens. Right? Talking about the rabbis taught. Shammai says first the heavens were created and then the earth. Shanamar, the proof text is Bereshis bara Elohim es hashamayim v'asaretz. God created the heavens and the earth. Beis Hillel omrim eretz ne'eretz tchila v'achar hashamayim. Beis Hillel says no, the land was created first. Shanamar b'yom asos Hashem Elokim eretz hashamayim. In chapter 2 of Genesis, it says this is how the creation of the world unfolded on the day that God made land and heavens. Okay, so it's the reverse order. Amar lahem Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. So Beis Hillel said to Beis Shammai, according to you, Adam bona aliyah v'achar kach bona bayit. Who does this? You don't first build the attic and then the first floor. You have to build the first floor first. So from our perspective, the earth had to be created first and then the heavens. And the proof text is Now, how do I know that the earth is the basis? Because it says he builds the upper, the upper floors in the heavens, and the group of creatures is on the foundation of the earth. So Beis Shammai responds, according to you, that you say the earth was created first. Do you first make the footstool and then make the chair? No. And why is the heavens like the chair and the earth like the footstool? Shanamar, the verse says, Komar Hashem Hashamayim Kisi V'Aretz Hadam Raglai. This is from Haftarah we read every Rosh Chodesh. Not every Rosh Chodesh, but when Rosh Chodesh is on Shabbos, God says, the heavens is my throne and the earth is my footstool. So the main thing is the throne. You build that first. Actually, I mean, to me, it seems like Beis Hillel's argument is more compelling because you can't build the attic on top of the second floor without having built the first floor, whereas you could build the footstool before the throne if you wanted to. But Beis Shammai is saying that's not the way you would do it. But the other rabbi said, they were created at the same time. Shanamar, Af Yadi Yasta Eretz V'Mini Tip Hashamayim. My hand founded the earth, and my right hand founded the heavens. Kori and Yaleim Yam B'Yachad. I called them to stand together. So by saying stand together, it indicates that they were simultaneous. V'idach my yachta. So, but Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, what does it mean that they stood up together? The lo mishtalfei mehadad. It means that they're a unit. Like once they've both been created, they're integrated into each other as a whole. So yes, one could have been created first and the other second, but now that they are both linked together, they are tightly connected. So anyway, kashu kraya dade. So how do you resolve the contradiction between the verses we saw before? I mean, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel both had good points, right? Rish Lakish answers, Kishanivru bar Shemayim v'achar kach barar. So we're going to revert to the dodge that we use for the light and the sun. When they were first created, God first created the heavens and then the earth. But when they were planted, when they were set in their place, first the earth and then the heavens. Okay, my shamayim. What is this word shamayim? So
they're both true, basically.
They're both true, exactly.
I mean, there's so much you could say about this, but I mean, Beit Shammai's worldview and Beit Hillel's worldview, can be encapsulated.
Okay, the Beit Shammai is more, I guess we would ordinarily say stricter,
absolutist, like Shammai, where Beit Hillel, it's more about taking human concerns into,
Okay, I like it. Yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah.
My shamayim. What is this word shamayim? What's the etymology of that word? Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, shasham mayim. There is water. So as I mentioned earlier, the cosmology of the rabbis and as it's presented in the Torah really is that the gods separated the upper waters from the lower waters. So the heavens are full of water. So sham mayim, there is water, is contracted into shamayim. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Rabbi Yossi says a different interpretation. Sorry, that was the lunch of Shamayim. From Masnisa Tan and the Brisa, we taught Eish Umayim. So it's fire and water are mixed together up there. So Eish Shmayim, Shamayim. Malamin Shevian Kosh Baruch Hu Utrafan Zevazeh, that God in the heavens, he mixed fire and water together. Vyasam Rakia, and from that he made the heavens. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, it sounds like, the Greeks said there were 4 elements or something: fire,
Right.
water, earth, and
wind,
yeah,
air.
something like that. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't know. So that's that's why they're playing around with the element.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that occurs to me is that water and fire don't mix on Earth, right? But the
Right.
heavens maybe have a different, This is in contrary to what we currently think, that physics apply both, all over the universe. But maybe this is outside of the universe
Yeah.
also.
The other great debate is how and where and when did water, from a scientific point of view, appear on the earth. Scientists are not sure, they debate that, whether it was always here, the oceans, or somehow it arrived here.
Shal Rabbi Shmuel is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Shmuel asked Rabbi Akiva, Kishayim Malchum Adar, when they were traveling together. He said, you were the student and really the attendant of Nachum Ish Gamzu, a famous Gemara character, for 22 years. Shahaya Dorish called Esin Shabbat, that he would expound on every time the word es appears in the Torah. So es is not a translatable word, but it's a word that indicates the object of a sentence. And it's kind of superfluous. So this Nachum Ish Gamzu said, if the Torah uses the word es, it must mean something each time. It has to include something in the typical rabbinic legalistic fashion, that something is indicated by this word as, and every time that's written in the Torah, which is many, many times, it has to mean something. So what does it mean that he created the heavens and the land? What is included by these two words as? Keep answering them. If it only said God created earth and land, heavens and earth, Hayisi Omer Shamayim Shemosha Chodesh Baruch Hu. I would have thought that Bereshis bara Elohim Shamayim Ba'aretz. You would have thought that the heavens is not the object of the sentence, but the subject of the sentence. In other words, it's a name of God. So by using the word es, it indicates here comes the object of the sentence, the heavens that were being created. It means that the things that were being created, the heavens and the earth. So es aretz lovely. All right. So why do you have to say es twice? Why do you have to indicate that each of the heavens and the earth is the object of the sentence? One time should be enough. Lahakdim shamayim la'aretz. So that you wouldn't think, contrary to one of the opinions we saw before, that everything was created at once. It says God created the heavens and the earth, meaning in sequence, not together. Now we're going to continue to analyze the first chapter of Genesis. The earth was chaotic. Let's see. So you want to say that it starts that the heavens were created first. God created the heavens and the earth, and then continues. The earth was chaotic, but that doesn't make sense. If the heavens were created first, why are you telling me the details of the land first? So they answered in the Academy of Rabbi Yishmael, it's like a parable of a king who tells his servants, everybody come early tomorrow morning to court. So he got up early and he found women and men at the door. So who is he gonna thank or praise for being there early? To those who aren't used to getting up so early. With apologies to women who there are plenty of women who get up early, I'm sure. But the Gemara's view is like, listen, men are getting up, they got to go to shul, they got to go to work, right? Women are lazing around the house, right?
Are you kidding? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, the kids are getting up. I mean,
I know, right? Like,
anything.
well, so maybe it's not waking up, but it's to be out of the house to come to court. Like men are have to go to work. So they've got to leave the house early. So since the earth is like the slumbering, or the one that I don't even know how to describe the analogy.
Okay.
Okay. Tanya, we have a brisa. Rabbi Yossi Omer. Woe to creatures who see and they don't realize what they're seeing. They stand, but they don't realize what they're standing on. What does the earth stand on? Al Hamudim, on pillars. Shenamar. So this could be a reference to the Mishnah says that the world stands on three pillars: Torah, Avodah, and Milos Chasadim. On Torah, on service, and on kindness. And how do we know that the world stands on pillars? Shenamar Hamargis Eretz Minkama Vamudea Yispalatu. God who shakes the earth from its place and its pillars tremble. Amudim al Hamayim. And what do the pillars stand on? The water. Shenamar Laroka Haaretz al Hamayim, as it says, God to God who establishes the earth on the water. Okay, Mayim. So this is like, at some point we'll get to the turtle, and from there it's turtles all the way down, right? Mayim al Harim. What are the waters supported by? The mountains. Shenamar al Harim Yamdu Mayim. As it says again in Psalms, the water stands on the mountains. Harim Baruach. What are the mountains stand on the wind? Shenamar Kihine Yoser Harim Ugari Ruach. God who creates the mountains and creates the wind, with the spirit of the wind. Ruach Basar. What does the wind stand on? On the storm. Shenamar Ruach Sa'ara Osa Devara. So it describes a storm, the wind of the storm, implying that the wind is based on the storm. And Sa'aratzli B'Zro Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the storm is standing on the on God's arm. Shenamar Umitachas Zero Solam, from beneath are the arms of the world. God is the arms of the world. Okay, so what does this all mean? I have no idea. Okay. But the other rabbis say, there's actually 12 pillars. And what are the pillars? God establishes the borders of the nations according to the number of the people of Israel, the 12 tribes, right? So so all of the peoples of the world are kind of somehow supported by the 12 tribes. So these are the 12 pillars that the world stands on. But some say Shiva Amudim. There are 7 pillars. Shenamar Chatzva Amudea Shiva. She carved out its 7 pillars. Okay. Shamu Omer, Rabbi says, there's only one pillar, and that pillar is called Tzadik. Shenamar Tzadik Yisod, the righteous person, the Tzadik, is the foundation of the world. Okay. Again, I'm not sure what to say about this.
Well, the only thing I can say is like all the verses that the proof texts are all like from Job or Tehillim or
Right.
or poetic Mishle or poetic parts of the Torah.
Yeah.
It's like they're not like intending to be literal. These are like
they're metaphoric or mystical, as we were saying before.
right. I don't know.
So maybe the message is like, so this is what we led off this section with is like, woe to people who see and they don't know what they're seeing, and they don't know what they're standing on. It's like you think that everything is physical, but really there's a whole metaphysical thing going on beneath the surface. So yeah, that would make sense.
Okay.
There's 2 heavens. God has the heavens and the heavens of the heavens. Reish Lakish, what that literally means to say is like God has the very highest heavens, right? But they were interpreting it as like there's more than one heaven. And when I say heaven, I'm again talking about the celestial spheres, not the afterlife. Reish Lakish says, Shiva, there are actually 7 heavens. Ve'eluhen, and these are what they're called: Vilon, Rakia, Shchakim, Zvul, Ma'on, Machon, Aravos. I could try to translate, the Art Scroll translates these as curtain, sky, mills, residence, abode, arsenal, and plains. Okay. So
these are all like references from different, like the Hillel and stuff like
yeah,
that.
so we're gonna, so Reish, right, now we're gonna find proof text for all of these. Okay. Vilon in the first heaven, curtain, has no purpose. It enters, it appears in the morning and leaves in the evening. So I guess that's like the visible manifestation of the heavens, right? You can see the sky, the blue sky in the daytime, and at night it's concealed because there's no light. And so that renews the creation every day. Shenamar, the proof text is Hanote Chadok Shemayim Vayim Tachem Ka'ohel HaShabbos, God who spreads the heavens like a curtain and stretches them out like a tent to live in. Rakia, the second level, Shabo Chama Levana V'Kochavim Mazal Kruin. That's where you have the luminaries, right? The sun, the moon, the stars, and the constellations. Shenamar, proof text. God placed them, all these things, the sun and the moon, in the Rikia Hashemayim, in the sky of the heavens. So that's level 2. Shechakim, the third level. Shabo Rechayim Amdos. That's where there's mills are standing. V'tochnos man l'tzadikim. That's the mills that are grinding the man for the tzadikim, right? The manna. So this is kind of, now we're getting into the kind of the supernatural, right? So far we've got, the first layer of the sky, which you can observe, day and night, and then there's the luminaries, and then now we're getting into the metaphysical. So this is the third level, is where the man is produced. Shenamar, proof text is Vaisav shechakim mimal v'dalse shemayim pasach vayimtar. He commanded these mills above, and the doors of heaven opened, and it rained. Vayamter aleim man lachol. It rained man on them to eat, referring to the experience in the desert. Zavul, the fourth level, Shabo Yerushalayim v'Beis Hamikdash and Mizbeach Banai. That's where the Yerushalayim and the Beis Hamikdash and the altar are built. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that's where they're built and then they come down to earth, or is there some kind of corresponding metaphysical altar? And Michael Saragadol Omed Rival Carbon, and Michael, the great angel, stands there and offers offerings, sacrifices to God on it. Shenamar, the proof text is Bano Banisi Beis Lach Machon L'Shivtacha. I've built a house for you to live in, the foundation of your dwelling forever. Why this refers to a celestial, this is what said by Shlomo when he dedicated the first temple. I don't know why we're using this as a proof of some fourth level of heaven. Anyway, we know on the Shemayim. How do we know that this is talking about a heaven? So this use of the word Zavul, which means resonance, according to this, is also referring to God looking down from his Zavul, from his holy Zavul. So that indicates that there is a temple up there in the fourth level. Ma'on, the fifth level, Shabo Kito Shamalach Yasharis Shamros Shira Balayla. This is the level of a bunch of angels that sing praises to God at night. V'chashos bayom, and they are silent during the day. Mibnei kavod and shal Yisrael, but during the day they're silent in order to defer to the people of Israel. I guess the people of Israel, when they're not sleeping, they're praising God. The Shenemar Yoma Mitzvah Hashem Chazdo Uvalayla Shiro Imi. during the day, God will command his chesed, his kindness, and in the night, his song is with me in heaven. Okay. Amar Rish Lakish says, so we're up to 5 levels. We're going to digress for a minute. Kol ha'osek b'Torah b'layla, anybody who studies Torah at night, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe of chut shel chesed b'yom. God draws out a thread of kindness for him during the day. Shenamar Yomam Yisav Hashem Chasdav. During the day, God will will send his chesed, his kindness. Umatam Yomam Yisav Hashem Chasdav. Why? Mishum b'layla shiro imi. Because of the end of that verse, and in the nighttime, his song is with me, was with me. In other words, at night I was studying his Torah. Right? But some say I'm Rish Lakish. Some say the Rish Lakish said as follows: anybody who engages in Torah in this world, which is, this is the world of darkness. He will have God's kindness in the world to come. That's like a bright day. Using the same proof text. Levi says, somebody who stops, who turns away from Torah, and just has regular conversations. He's going to be fed burning coals. Those who uproot the maluach, so we're interpreting that as like luach, like the luchos habris, the tablets, so the words on the tablets. They basically, you give up the words of the tablets for siach, for regular conversation. V'shorish v'samim lachmon. So what happens then? The roots of this rasamim, of these coals, will be their meal. Okay. How do you know that this this machon, which is the 5th heaven, how do you know that is a heaven? Shenemar hashkifa mima'on kanshecha min hashamayim. The Torah says the prayer of the farmer who is bringing his bikurim is supposed to say, "Look, God, look down from your ma'on, from your holy ma'on, from the heavens." So this word ma'on, abode, or however you want to translate it, is referred to as a heaven. Machon, the 6th level, Shabo Otzros Shelag Beotzros Bar. That's where all the snow and hail is kept. Va'alias Talalim Raim, and also bad dew, Va'alias Agalim, and beads of water. These seem to be like destructive kind of elements. V'chadra Shal Sufa, a chamber of storms, Umara Shal Kitar, and a cave full of vapor, of smoke. Vidal Sosean Aish, and the doors of these rooms are made of fire. Shnemar Yiftach Hashem L'chas Osar Tov Es Hashemayim, that God will open for you his good storehouse, but that implies that there's a good storehouse and a bad storehouse. Okay, so there's a treasury of destructive elements. So Hani Berkia Isnu, Hani Bara Isnu. Wait a minute, you're up at the 6th level of heaven already. We get snow and bad rain and storms all the time on earth. Tziv Halus Hashem in Aretz Taninim B'chol Tehomos Eshu Bara Sheli B'Kito Ruach Saro Sodavaro. These are all things that in the Psalms we say praise God from the land, from the earth. The sea monsters and fire and hail and snow and storms, etc. These are all on the earth. So what are they doing up in the 6th level of heaven? Amar Ravina Marav, Ravina says, David Bikesh Alayim Rachamim V'Haridan La'aretz. David pleaded with God to release these things from the 6th heaven and send them down to the earth. Amar Lafanav, what's that about? He said to God, Rivon Shalom, Lo el chafetz rasha. You're not a God who wants evil. Lo yugur chara. Evil doesn't dwell with you. Tzadik ata Hashem lo yagur b'mugur chara. You are righteous, God, and no evil thing should be allowed where you dwell. Okay, so, well, thanks very much. So now they come down to earth. Uminolan deikre shamayim. I mean, what's a little odd about this is, what was in this idea? What was David's motivation? It's like, what does he care if this view of cosmology has these negative attributes or negative elements up there in the heaven? Like, that's the way God created it. What do you care? Right? So I don't quite get this either.
Playing for bad weather.
Pardon me? Yeah, it's like he's praying for bad weather. Exactly. Maybe the idea is that they have more power if they originate up in the heavens, and if they're only really brought down here, then they have less power. Maybe that's the idea.
Probably do a whole climate change stuff on this too.
Yeah, no doubt. We know in Yikra Shemayim. How do you know that this machon is linked to Shemayim? This is from the prayer of can't remember who, but this is in Malachim. And you, God, will hear, you who the heavens are machon shivtecha, the foundation of where you live. So this word machon is linked to heavens. Now we're up to the seventh level, aravos. Shabbat tzedek mishpat utzedaka. That's where you have righteousness, justice, charity, ginzei chaim, ginzei shalom, ginzei bracha, the treasuries of life, peace, and blessing. Nishmashan shal tzadikim, the souls of the tzadikim, ruchos and neshamos shasi libaros, all the spirits that are yet to be created. The tal shasi kosh baruch lahachias b'mesim, and the dew which God will use to revive the dead. Tzedek mishpat. How do I know all these things? How are they linked to aravos? Tzedek u'mishpat, righteousness and justice. Tzedek u'mishpat v'chon kis echad. So this is a little odd because this place is tzedek u'mishpat in machon, in the sixth level, not the seventh level. So I'm not sure what the Gemara means by this. Tzedakah. What about tzedakah? Vayilbach tzedakah kashirya. He wore tzedakah, justice or charity, like armor. So that is the aravos is like the I don't know. That's where that's the battlefield maybe. Ginzei chaim. What about the treasury of life? Tichsiv kiim chamakar chaim. With you, God, meaning at the highest level, I guess, is the source of life. Ginzei shalom, peace. Tichsiv vayikra lo Hashem shalom. God called him. God called for peace. God called to himself peace. So peace is nearer to God. Begins a bracha and blessing. He will draw a bracha from God. So again, from the closest place to God. Nishmashan sol tzadikim, the souls of the righteous. This is I think Jonathan's blessing to David. I think that's where it's from. My master's soul will be bound with the bound of life to God. So again, life, your soul is bound directly to God, which is the highest level. Ruchos and neshama shasi libaros. What about the few souls that are yet to be created? A spirit will emanate from me, and I make all the souls. So again, when God refers to himself directly, it's implied that this is at the highest level of the heavens. The dew that will resurrect the dead. God will make the rain, this generous rain. When your inheritance becomes weak, you will establish it, you will strengthen it. And there are also all these in the seventh heaven are all these angelic creatures, which I can't even. The seraphim are fiery ones. Chayos are ones that resemble animals, I guess. And the angels, ministering angels, the kisei hakavod on the throne of glory. Melech el chai ram v'nisa shochen alayim, and above that, that's where the living, exalted God rests upon all these things. Shnamar solu l'rochev baravos biyashimo. So this aravos figures in this rochev baravos, the who rides on the plains, but we're taking these plains to mean the seventh heaven with God's name. We know in Divrei Shemayim. So where do you get that aravos is linked to heaven? Asher rechiva rechiva, because you ride on them, right? We just saw that the rider of the plains, and elsewhere we have ksivach sol rochev baravos, ksivasam rochev shamayim bezrecha. He rides on the heavens in your aid. Okay, so God rides on the heavens, and he rides in aravos, so aravos must be heaven. Reish Lakish finishes the statement that darkness and clouds and thick darkness surround God. He makes darkness to hide himself around his shelter. The darkness of water and the thick clouds. What you're attributing, like you would expect God to be described as being wrapped in light, not darkness. What's this darkness? Hu gala amikta umistarta. He, God, uncovers the deep and mysterious secrets. Yada ma b'chashocha. He knows what's in the darkness, and he is light, right? Light is with him. So why are you saying that God is wrapped in darkness? Where's the lokasha? Bebate gavai, v'ha bebate barai. Yeah, there's the inside and the outside. Like God's inner self, if you will, is light, is like the source of light, but it's wrapped in darkness of the second, another layer of darkness. Okay, I guess we might as well break here and pick it up here tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a good day, all.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Bill. Have a good day, everybody.
Okay.